Joining me for tonight's Big Picture Rumble are Shelby Emmett, attorney and member of the National Advisory Council of Project 21, Christy Setzer, progressive strategist and president CEO of New Heights Communications, and Peter Roth, contributing editor with the U.S. News and World Report. Thank you all for joining me tonight.
Thank you for being
here.
Thank you, Tom. Good to be here.
Thank you, Peter. Y'all heard my rant. This seems like a really cool. First of all, the United States has fallen from 12th to 16 in the share of adults aged 25 to 34 holding degrees. According to the OECD, we are not #1 in the world in terms of educational infrastructure, tragically. We were back when, before Ronald Reagan came into office and before he started charging at the University of California used to be free. City College of New York used to be free. Community colleges all over the country used to be functionally free. Tuition was like, $5 a credit, $3 a credit. So isn't this a good idea? Isn't this a brilliant idea?
Well, it sounds great, but again, this isn't free. They just said that there's got a federal tax dollars will be paying for it. So
right.
That's my money, your money, our money. Then the states also have to contribute. The states already pay more for their funding at the education level. But one issue I do take point with is what you said about the Congress and the Republicans blocking this. I worked on the Hill in the last session, and the Republicans did major reforms with career readiness, apprenticeship programs for veterans and working people, as well as trying to reform the education law, and it went dead in the Senate. Harry Reid never picked it up. Major reforms bipartisan, both sides, and they never did anything. But just like Obamacare, this is not going to be free, and my friends that all were for free health care are now getting that tax penalty, and the same thing will happen at the state level.
The simple reality is, though, that when Reagan came into office, roughly 80% of the cost of going to college in the United States was covered by the state government, local government, federal government, and college endowments and things. And only about 20% of the cost of going to college was tuition. Now 80% of the cost of going to college is tuition, and only 20% is covered by. And so we're just moving back to, this is just a little tiny step back toward where we were in the 70s.
And a number of people can't afford it at this point. There's this huge barrier to entry, whether it's real or perceived, for low-income people, that they are not going to be able to go to college. And so this is going to be a tremendous boon, not just for our economy eventually someday when they actually get out of college, but also even for, in the short term, for four-year colleges when they transfer to those as well. So I think there's a real short-sightedness in Republicans that are just looking at this in terms of the initial startup costs and not looking down the road into what we eventually get out of it.
Yeah. Peter, we're looking at an annual cost of $62 billion. That was the 2012 number for all public
That's
public
over
college.
$60 billion over 10 years.
Is
what this program.
Oh,
so
that's
$6 billion. It's $6
billion is like what?
But
3 weeks in Iraq?
The president hasn't actually put the plan out there yet. What he's talking about and what his aides are talking about are modeled on something that Republican Governor of Tennessee Bill Haslam has put into place. Right. I don't have a problem with truly free public education, taxpayer-funded education, but I do understand what's wrong with Washington when someone thinks that something that's going to cost $6 billion a year is free.
It's not
it's free from the point of view of the student.
What that problem is.
As a young person here, as someone that did both community college and university, this is not free. The student loan debt in this country is astronomical, and even if this is free now for the students right now, when these kids enter the workforce, if they can find a real job, an actual paying job, guess what? Their federal taxes have to go up, their state taxes have to go up to pay for all of this free stuff we're giving them.
But you're also not connecting the dots here.
No, I am connecting the dots, because at the end of the day, you get something for free on the back end when you start working, you have to pay for it. Right now, too much of our income goes to pay for the stuff that's free.
$6 billion in federal spending is going to show up as like 30 or 40 cents a year
so
on the average
guys just donate it for free? If you guys care about this as an issue that should be free, then you all should pay for it instead of forcing everyone else to donate your money.
To learn welding so they can help construct the Keystone XL pipeline, or they're going to learn computer coding so that they can help build on the next generation of the internet and keep it fair and free, I'm all for it. If we're giving them free tuition so that they can go major in Tulagi or women's studies or ancient Sanskrit or the sexual components of the Oreo cookie, which is what a lot of the Occupy Wall Street folks have degrees in and now can't find jobs, then it's a step backward. If the president really wants to show, if the president really wants to show leadership on education, what he ought to tackle is not the cost of community college education, but the cost of college education period. Every time they raise the amount of money available at the federal level for kids to go to college, the cost of tuition goes up.
Not true.
Explain to me why it costs.
Not true.
It is absolutely true. It is proven.
Did the cost of college go up when the GI Bill sent millions of Americans to college for free?
The cost of college tuition, when it has gone up in the post-war era, when the federal aid money goes up, the cost of going to college goes up. The private universities and even the public universities raise their prices based upon what's available in the marketplace. It's a shell game. Let the president show leadership
Peter,
there.
filibustering it isn't going to change it.
Okay, so I want to take us back
Christy,
to reality for a
turn.
second, which is that, you know, we can all agree, though, that student loan debt is a problem, right? And what that means when students are coming out of college, it means that there is a tremendous effect on the broader economy. They can't afford, because they have such crushing student loan debt, they can't afford to buy a car. They can't eventually afford to buy a home. They're delaying, for all intents and purposes.
They're delaying marriage.
Right, exactly. That's right. They're, for all intents and purposes, delaying becoming an adult that participates in our broader economy. So why not start them on the right path from here so they do not feel some of that crushing student loan debt from the get-go?
I hate to break it to everybody, but we already provide people free education from age 4 to age 18.
Right.
At some point, people in this country have got to be adults and take responsibility.
Shelby,
I paid for it. I worked 3 jobs to pay for school.
We didn't provide free high school in the United States until the 19-teens.
Okay.
And we did that because at that point, as the Industrial Revolution was really getting underway, it became clear that having a 5th or 6th grade education wasn't enough to be functional in the workplace. We're just, you know, the whole point of public education is the intellectual infrastructure for the country to hand this to business. This is the soil in which business roots itself, to provide an educated workforce.
If that's the case,
now
then Congress should be doing this. And that's what I said. The Republican Congress did major reforms on this issue on every level of education. And the Democrats in the Senate and Harry Reid refused to even debate it. So now all of a sudden the president comes along because why? It's a solution for everything. More free stuff that everybody else has to pay for. I don't know about you guys. I think it's great that you all think you have all the money to pay for everyone's free stuff, but I don't have any more money. I'm paying for people's health care. I'm paying for birth control. I'm paying for education. I'm paying for food stamps. I'm paying for everything.
You do have
Does
it rough.
anybody have to pay? Well, yeah, as a person that works for a
you're
living,
buying
I
drinks
work.
after
Here's
the show.
the most outrageous part. The average American is paying about $5,000 a year in subsidies to corporations in the United States.
I agree. Cut it off
$38 a year for
everybody.
food stamps, $40 a year for all welfare programs, $5,000 a year for corporate subsidies. And you get companies like General Electric and you know, all these other companies that make billions of dollars and pay nothing in taxes. But
People
I
just have to
digress.
work. Life is hard.
Elizabeth Warren, and apropos of that, you know, life doesn't have to be all that hard. Senator Elizabeth Warren explained the failures of trickle-down economics and Reaganomics really well and really tightly. She said, up until 1980, 90% of all people, middle-class working people, poor people, got about 70% of all the new income that was created in the economy, and the top 10% took the rest. Since 1980, guess how much of the growth in income the 90% got? Nothing. Zero. None. In fact, it's worse than that. The average family, not in the top 10%, makes less money than a generation ago. So who got the increase in income over the past 32 years? 100% of it went to the top 10%. All of the new money earned in this economy over the past generation, all of that growth in GDP went to the top. All of it. This is 34 years of Reaganomics. It's destroyed the middle class of this country. What do we do? I say roll back Reaganomics. Let's start by rolling back Reagan's tax cuts.
You know, it's obvious to me. It's obvious to me that Elizabeth Warren is tied to Harvard, because it's that kind of flat earth economics that produced the health care plan that the Harvard faculty is now rebelling against.
You're disputing the facts.
Million people are finding so terrible they've enrolled in the program.
Wrong.
Pay for their own
Christy?
healthcare.
The Reagan...
Peter, hold on. Let other people say.
No,
Christy? Shelby?
Look, I think this isn't just an issue of what happened under Reagan, but what is happening now. I think, again, just looking back on my own experience as a young person, I didn't come to age under Reagan. I came to age under Bush and Clinton and now Obama. And I'm holding those people, particularly the president that's in office now, for what is happening. And what I'm seeing is it's way too hard now to just start out. There's, again, more money to spend, not enough to keep.
We'll be right back. More of tonight's Big Picture Rumble right after the break.
I'm Erin Amy. The financial